TikTok today. It's happening. Not not that that's the goal. Um, me go live on Twitch here. So hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Now, it's Labor Day. My wife's off work today, so up a little later than normal. Just posted my first piece of content. I might post more than once today. First of all, a lot of people are boycotting, protesting, and striking, and I commend you for that. I have to work today, but not without taking. Do you understand? The only reason I'm going to work today at my day job, is because not only do I get paid holiday pay, like double time or whatever, but I get a free day off work plus holiday, meaning like work 8 hours, get paid for 48 hours, plus stupid amounts of American dollars to actually be productive while at work today. So, especially if we haven't spoke before, after 4 p.m. Eastern today, if you intend to do business, that would be a fantastic time to talk. Because the organization I work for has decided, fuck it, let's blow it all out today. Okay, so uh, it is Labor Day. Have a great Labor Day. Um, I just want to continue to point out that we haven't seen the president in like 6 days, and that the pictures that we've seen the last couple days are dated. That picture of him with John Gruden, 2019. The picture that was tweeted out by the White House. They're trying to weaken and Bernie's us. He's writing fucking like they're Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is writing tweets using AI. Empress Val. Good morning. Where's Waldo? Right? So again, I'm using my platform to say, hey, where's Donald Trump? Now, what I find really interesting this morning, the first thing I saw, I don't know about you guys, the first thing I saw is this story right here from TVP World. Remember, there's news that impacts us all that happens off U.S. soil. This is why diplomatic relations are imperative. Um, for example, the head of the EU chief, okay, to the surprise of no one, is a woman, von der Leyen, okay? The chief of the EU was due to land in Bulgaria. And Russia spoofed their GPS and almost caused their plane to crash, and they had to circle for an hour before using like maps to land. And it was like, hey, remember how we talked about right around the election time? A lot of people will remember drones and UAVs, but what we should be remembering are all the fucking plane crashes due to fucked up telemetry in the United States, and again, I know I'm using words I don't even know what they mean, but it means the data that your plane gives you while you're flying it, that tells you exactly where you are in the air. The reason the that Black Hawk helicopter crashed is because it thought it was 200 feet in the air lower, to break it down dum dum style. And so this, first of all, it's the article says Russia did this. Like, there's no fucking questions. This is what they spoof GPS. That's what they do. Okay. Um, this was the head of the EU. I think that, in my eyes, it ties itself nicely to Russia's interference in the 2024 U.S. election. Um, Obviously, today is supposed to be a big music festival, right? The Workers Over Billionaires, right? Join the protest. But I don't think that's it. So let's go to 5051. Yeah, Workers Over Billionaires. MaydayStrong.org. If you're not already familiar. Good. Way to go, Cease. Love to see it. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I talked about that nice and early, before it ever hits any other mainstream media. Is like, hey, I know they're not telling us about everything that's going on, but what I can see pretty clearly with mine own eyes is that that same shit that they were pulling right around the time of the election, it's still going on. Okay, but yeah, if you wanna find an event, mobilize.us/Mayday. Okay, good to see it. Love to see you get out and protest. In my opinion, going to a protest, boycotting, striking, these are what the hallmarks of a successful movement. A lot of people will point to the death of a bunch of billionaires, but no, I actually think, um, the hallmark of this movement will be, the increase in union membership. One of the things that lets you know the people, are serious about their own welfare and have said, "Fuck it, I'm done trusting these politicians and these corporations. We need collective bargaining. We need a union." Hmm? So remember, if you haven't already today, one of the first things we talk about should be join a union. Oops. If you think you're too old, you're not. If you don't work anymore, all the more reason to join a union because you have time. You have a luxury people don't have. I'm sharing the show. Stand by. Ooh, I made up my own podcast, my own hashtag JWR. Yeah, especially today. Nobody's working and everybody's going to a protest. It's going to force more people to the protest because there's nobody else is doing shit. All right, so I think outside of hey, the chief of the EU was trying to land in an aircraft in Bulgaria, and Russia spoofed their fucking GPS and almost caused them to crash. And they had to circle for an hour until they decided to land by map, by paper map, analog. I think another big story, other than that, which is like, hey, it's kind of like good versus evil, and good wins, but evil is still persisting. Like here's evil still persisting, Russia still spoofing GPS. I think it has a lot to do with what happened right around the election time, where they were trying to like show like cause fear in people, right? Terrorism, you would call this. Um, I think spoofing GPS is an act of terrorism. So it puts innocent people in danger, and it's meant to strike fear in people. Remember, while I was on active duty in the Marine Corps Infantry, my platoon commander was going to school to become an officer. He became a warrant officer. Um, he had to do a paper, or he had to write a bunch of papers because he was in college, right? And so we did a lot of research on terrorism. Hmm. I'm not saying I'm like the foremost. Uh, there are probably people that could speak on terrorism to a lot higher degree than I can, but much of what we are subjected to as by Russia is terrorism, meant to influence politically. We just don't call it that because Democrats are afraid to use phrases that dumb Republicans will pick up and run with. Right? We start calling people terrorists, they're going to start using terrorists regularly. It's one of the reasons we don't use terrorism regularly. What up, Hammer? Bro, what's up? So, yeah, this morning, Russia spoofed the GPS of the chief of the EU when they were going to land their aircraft. And then there was a big earthquake in Afghanistan. Again, I know a lot of people hear me talk about other countries and they just zone out, but at least 250 people is a pretty devastating earthquake. 6.0, not necessarily blowing out your back. Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps Infantry, yeah. 20 years ago, I left for boot camp. I know a lot of you saw the story. British Sputnik here, injured on second Afghanistan tour back in '07. That's. I'm just glad you're here. Thank you for your service. Semper Fi, all that happy shit. All right, the 600 children. People have seen this, where the this administration was looking to deport unaccompanied minors. Way to go, Don. Not. A judge has ordered the U.S. to stop hundreds of children from being deported alone. It's been a lot of earthquakes lately. Yeah. Well, see what happens when um, corporations stop paying attention to government agencies that are saying, like, hey, fracking is bad. Okay. And people are like, nah, fam. It's how we get here. All right. Secretary Gnome. To all my friends and family that live in the Chicago area, Kristi Noem has confirmed, per this CTV News article, that ICE is headed to Chicago. Chi-Town, stand up. God, it just looks like her soul has left her body. She said LA wouldn't be standing if Donald Trump hadn't sent the National Guard and the Marines to LA. Fucking crazy people. ICE stormed a car wash on Friday. Yeah, Kristi can go pound sand. Yeah. I want to continue to remind everybody that ICE agents do not have a real warrant. They have what's at best an administrative warrant, which means a warrant that ICE writes, which is not a legal warrant. Good to go. It's meant to be a placeholder, kind of like a napkin. Okay. Um, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Trump's a traitor that sold us out to Russia. Fuck him. And fuck anybody that likes him. He's a fucking traitor. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. People that get bent out of shape about immigration aren't experiencing it. I can say that with my full chest. The people that get bent out of shape about immigration aren't the ones experiencing immigration. They're just lonely white people that don't know how to say I'm racist and just move along. They're stuck on how this is our land. Okay? And I want to point out also, in addition to the only people I've ever seen get bent out of shape about immigration are people that are not experiencing it. I'll also point out the people that get bent out about immigration are never homeowners. It's never somebody that actually has a fucking mortgage. You know what I mean? It's always some fucking broke. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Immigration. You can't pay rent on time. What are you talking about? Immigration. Where the fuck do you live that immigration affects you at all? You don't. That's the answer. The answer is that you don't. You know, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Chicago, Illinois are very diverse. In fact, there's a big Sudanese population in Indianapolis. You would never fucking know that. And I worked at a school corporation. But yeah, uh, I always think it's funny the people that's like, this is our land, and it's like you live in a high rise. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah. All the people that get bent out of shape about immigration, like, yeah, the data says that like white people commit the majority of crime per their percent of the population, right? So one of the things that I've always known is that the data helps you answer some shit. And there's a difference between charged with crime and convicted. And when you talk about like anybody can get anybody rung up, just so you know, anybody can get anybody rung up. But getting charges to drop, it's different. And white people get convicted the most often. You know what's super inflated? Charges against people of color. Yeah, and you know what the conviction rate is? Like 30%. So think about that. Most of the time, when a white person gets charged with a crime, they did that shit. hmm And in fact, a lot of people that have committed fucking crime don't get punished. hmm That's why they keep committing crime, by the way. It's because it just goes unchecked. Yep. Yeah. 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 And keep in mind, I am like white and poor. Oh, oh. See, I'm educated, man. John Locke said the right to extend your fist ends at another person's face, and that includes your spouse. Um, and we were taught in kindergarten that we don't hit other people, and that violence is not the answer. And as someone that worked armed and unarmed security for a long time and was in the Marine Corps, uh, that's right. Violence ain't the fucking answer. It's a problem. Hmm? It's a problem. Is that people stopped trying to accomplish shit and instead just chose to be violent instead. They still accomplished dick all, but they were violent, and so there is that. Um, that's that's how I see most people. hmm Okay, stand your ground. That means that if you're a homeowner and somebody comes on your land and they're violent towards you, you can stand your ground. Yep, I'm I'm for that. That's not being violent. They are a victim. They just reacted to force with force, right? Remember how rules of engagement work? How you're not just out allowed. I don't give a That's insane. If somebody comes on your property and is violent towards you, you can't stand your ground. Well, I would never live in the UK, not for 5 seconds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't live in a country where they do that. Oh, and I think Elon Musk has a hand in it. So I know people are like, "What, Jared? Why did you bring up? Why did you bring up the EU chief's flight GPS getting spoofed?" Oh, because it has to do with Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, hmm XAI, X. They did this. Hackers. Mm-hmm. Doge is exactly who did this shit. I want to continue to point that out. Like, as much as we're like Epstein list, it's like Elon Musk. Don't forget that shit. You know why? Because the rest of the world is not forgetting that shit. Tesla stocks increase, their plummet increases 8 straight months. Tesla's, how the fuck you bankrupt a, how the fuck are these people in charge? Elon Musk, whose fucking electric car company is going to go out of business. Yeah, that's stupid. That's not how it works in Indiana. That's why my haters are confined to calling me names on the internet. It's because we have a stand your ground law here. But yeah, 8 straight months. And by the way, and by the way, my wife and I spent part of our Saturday at a car dealership around Teslas and $100,000 Genesis and Hyundais and shit. Uh, Teslas are trash, just a trash car. And one of the ways that I determine of whether or not a vehicle is trash about how dirty can it get just sitting there. And they had a white Tesla coupe sitting outside. Every every little nook and cranny, just like this, just gathers dirt and dust. It looks like shit. Oh, that sucks. Like $100,000 fucking car, right? Not in a million years, dude. No, the way it's just the way it's shaped. Like the window, the light modules for the headlights, the way they're shaped, they just gather dust and dirt, and you're just like, they used to make cars to where dust didn't sit on them. You know what I mean? That shit looked clean when it was dirty. You know what I mean? And again, I'm pejorative, pejorative. So make sure. All right, here here we go. Taking a dip, Labor Day weekend? Question mark. Swimmers face fecal contamination at beaches along the U.S. coastline. So hey, not only don't drink the water. No, I've spent the better part of my life in college. I have more than one degree, and I make more money than anyone I know. I have less debt than anyone I know. I'm in a better financial position than anyone I know. No, I do not think that college is a waste of time. I think people are incredibly fucking stupid. George Carlin was right. Half of all people, stupid. The other half, even fucking stupider. Oh yeah, college is not a waste of time. People are fucking stupid. Irrevocably stupid. Irreparably mentally impaired. And college isn't even fucking good enough. You need therapy. You need a college degree and therapy. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. People that think education is a waste of time are generally a waste of time. Hmm. Jesus Christ, literally. When I say Jesus fucking Christ, read this headline. Louisiana judge orders the return of devices to ex-priest caught having sex on church altar. They get their cell phone back. Yeah, he has to get chummy with Vance. Nice. This is what I love to see. The sound of music. Drones blasting AC/DC are helping biologists protect cattle from wolves. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, fighting a losing battle trying to cover up. Abso-fucking-lutely. Good morning, Carlin. A little Hell's Bells. Vladimir Putin has arrived in China. That's what you don't want to see. You do not want to see Russia and China getting chummy chummy. But I mean, Russia, remember, Russia is a competitor. If they can get shit real cheap, they'll do it. Here you go. Ursula von der Leyen. It's getting picked up. There's a reason I made a piece of content about that because I was like, that's a big story. Good to see everybody else. All right. Let's talk about people want to talk about fucking bathrooms because we're all perverts. Okay. I'm gonna read this article to you, and then we'll have a conversation. This happened in Denver, Colorado. The U.S. Education Department said Thursday that Denver public schools violated Title IX protections against sex-based discrimination in education by creating all-gender bathrooms and allowing students to use bathrooms corresponding with their gender identity. Damn, letting the kids be who they are, huh? The finding followed an unprecedented probe of Denver's East High School that marked a sharp departure from the department's investigations under former Democratic President Joe Biden. It's part of a push by President Donald Trump's Republican administration against local and state policies that make allowances for transgender students. Same thing. I just want to continue to point out that they've talked about leaving it to the states, like leaving interracial marriage to the states, leaving rape law and shit like that to the states, and tenant law and shit like that. Oh, leave it to the states, leave it to the states, but not protections for transgender kids. The federal government's all over that. I just want to continue to point out that a man who claims that he's not a pedophile, man, he fucks with transgender children, like like a lot. For someone that's not into kids. The investigation in Denver began after the school district converted a girls' restroom into an all-gender restroom while leaving another bathroom on the same floor exclusive to boys. That's because they're rapists. In January, the school has said that it was done as a result of a student-led process, and the bathroom had 12-foot tall partitions for privacy and security. The district later added a second all-gender restroom on the second floor, which it says is meant to address concerns of unfairness. At the time, it was said that students would also continue to have access to gender-specific restrooms and single-stall all-gender bathrooms. I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem at all with letting kids be who they are. I do see the problem with continuing to publicly uh, limit the liberties of the smallest population group in the United States, trans people. Mm-hmm. This is because Donald Trump is a coward and won't actually take on the LGBTQIA. He'll just try to tear one of the smallest population groups. And you know how they succeed? You know how they succeed? Anytime you see someone that says that we should take the T out of LGBTQIA+, and they're trying to literally destroy the trans community and kill trans people, I want to continue to point out that it's usually giving trans. I'm gonna continue to say this again as your the most ally I can be. Every time someone comes out as transphobic, I immediately go look at that person. And I'm forever batting 1,000, J.K. Rowling, that every time someone's transphobic and you go look at you're like, they look like a trans person. Never fails. Just want to continue to point this out. But the reason, because Cece asked, and Cece's a little older. So Donald Trump is a bully. And what he does is he picks on the low-hanging fruit. See, the way bullies work, and I'm not trying to talk down to you, so don't take it like that. The way bullies work is that they don't want pushback. So trans people make up and again, the best people I've ever met, they make up such a small percentage of our population. Truly. There's not that many of them. They're like a unicorn. And he knows that trans people have gone through a lot of trauma. I don't know if I told you this, but I spent a couple months ago, I spent the weekend uh, at the convention center downtown Indianapolis. And I spent the better part of like 4 days hanging around trans women. These were men that I knew as men. And over the years, they transitioned. They're women now. And first of all, I can speak as a result of my experience, like just being in the same room as them, that they went through a lot of trauma personally. It Coming out as trans generally is the destruction of your life as you know it. I cry just thinking about all these men, these women talking about uh, how hard it is to have friends when you're trans because people that were like they felt safe around you because you were a man now are like, am I less safe around you because you've transitioned? And they're like, no, I'm still like the big fucking strong person I was physically, right? And all of these guys were like, all these girls were big, like above 6 foot, above 200 pounds. So for them to transition as big people, right? They talked about how they lost the trust of people closest to them because the conversation is always how long have you known that you were trans? And then again, I can't speak for trans people. What they'll tell you, or at least what I was told, is that I transitioned because of a great deal of trauma. As a result, like instead of being allowed to come out as trans, it's like I was forced to do that. And so again, I want to point out that like um, we haven't quite accepted the trans community because people are still really stupid and they cannot let other people make decisions for themselves. And that's again the same people that are transphobic are anti-abortion. So they absolutely cannot stand that we can control our stars. You don't have to have kids if you don't want to. You don't even have to fucking be a man, right? When I was growing up, that shit was beat into my brain. Be a man, be a man, right? Can you imagine telling someone that's fighting internally as to whether they are presenting themselves as a man is told their entire fucking childhood to be more manly? What the fuck? You mean be more ignorant and more impulsive, right? Be faster to be violent, right? Quicker to feel, slower to think, right? So yeah, the reason that Donald Trump attacks the trans community is because the trans community isn't out like the LGBTQIA plus community is. Think about culture. Culturally, the lesbian, the bisexual, right? The even the gender dysphoric, I feel has been more accepted by culture. People who are sexually ambiguous, where you don't quite know if they're a woman or a man. First of all, the base rule that we learned in kindergarten applies here. And first of all, it's none of your goddamn business. And again, I want to point out the same people that are transphobic are the exact same people that are anti-abortion, in that they don't believe that we actually have free will. So imagine like you're a religious person and you meet someone that is atheist, trans, and had an abortion. They made all of the decisions that make up like your person. And none of those things are another fucking human being's business. I can promise you up and fucking down, as a grown ass man that has dated for fucking 20 years before I met my wife, who has friends that are gay, trans, bi, the fucking polyamorous people that I've met in my life that are trying to balance and keep several fucking people happy, right? Which again, I just want to point out that you can't even keep yourself fucking consistently happy. How the fuck are you supposed to keep multiple households happy? But again, this is the kind of shit that our parents tried to do, right? My daddy cheated on my mom the whole time they were together. He didn't maintain multiple households, but he had to keep like my mom from finding out and another woman from speaking out about it, at the very least. But as someone that I feel the more social I become, the more alone I really am. And it's not because there aren't people there for me. It's because more people were. And then what happened was I played football, for example, and I try to demonstrate leadership. And if you can't pick up on that and it change you forever, you're gonna lose me. You see, I got into coaching football. I coached like semi-pro, right? So none of the guys that played for me played after high school. There were exceptions to that. Most of them grades first, then their size, and then all the other shit. Okay, speed, strength. These are all reasons these people didn't play after high school, right? And what I tried to explain to my players who came to me when I took the job and said, "We're tired of fucking losing. Tell me what it's been like. We haven't had a winning season in 4 or 5 years. Ah, fuck. It's hard to do as an adult. Show up, lose, come back next week and do it again." I got gotten to the point where my wife doesn't even want to fucking come out anymore. That was the head coach. And I told him winning is easy. It's how you behave when you win that matters. Because we know what happens when we lose, right? We put our head between our legs, we go home, we cry in the shower, right? Shower beer time, right? And then just try to get 8 hours, we gotta go back to work, right? Because we're adults. And I told him, like, what if in addition to a weekly in-person practice, that we had at least one Zoom meeting a week where we just talked offense, defense, and special teams? What if we set up a group chat, we communicated, we made sure, hey, we're having practice here, it's at this location, it's at this time, can you be there, yes or no? And then count on your yeses and work on your nos, right? And then ultimately provide a practice schedule so people know what's going on in practice, who's supposed to be where, when. It's in the practice plan. And then make sure that you are rewarding people that show up and practice well, right? And are actually competent in practice. And the first year I coached football, the team that was 3-5 the year before me went undefeated, beat teams they hadn't beaten in years. And why? Because we had a game plan, because we had a practice schedule, because we had a playbook, because we knew who was going to show up and who wasn't. And we built our game plan around that. And I was finding out 2 days before games who I was going to have and who I wasn't. And I told them there's nothing more important to me than you being there and contributing. But if you're not going to be there, I need to know. It changes what we're going to do. You're valuable. You matter. And what fucking happened? Adults, guys that were perennial losers. Most of them guys had played together for like 4 more years and had just gotten used to it. Then turn on their head and fucking won. Let me explain what happened to that group of people in a 12-month period. They built businesses. They struck out on their own. Think about what their exposure was to. What changed? What variable changed? Structure and organization was provided. They learned from someone that they had never met before. They didn't have any knowledge of me. It's not like I had a track record. That came in and showed them what just a touch of organization will do for recreational football, right? It's the same reason I've sat here and every day with you and gone through the news with you and said, you know what would scare the fuck out of the Democratic establishment? The American Socialist Party. First of all, a pro-equality party, meaning I ain't anti-trans, I'm pro-trans. I want people to transition. hmm Because you need strong, powerful people that can fight another woman. You know what I mean? Like what's gonna happen is they're gonna continue to weaponize and tokenize the right as they continue to become less popular. And the people that are most susceptible to tokenization, are you ready? Fat people and women, historically. So don't, and again, I could point to people and I'm like, look, fat and right leaning. Oh, look, they're being propped up by this administration. Do you see? I'm fucking pointing it out. Fat people and women are most susceptible of tokenization. And again, this is because affirmative action and DEI programs typically historically benefit white women the most. So for every person out there, it's like, oh, I fucking hate you. It's like, no, historically I'm accurate that you are quickly to be hired and you'll be the only one there. That's called tokenization. That literally what I'm talking about. Having been the white boy that got fucking promoted everywhere I went, where do you think I got when I got sat down? I looked into a room full of fucking white men and I was like, wait a minute, you have no diversity in leadership? Oh fuck, we're a sinking ship. You don't have any diversity of period here, much less diversity of thought. Like this cannot be the marketplace of ideas, right? So, as someone who watched the tokenization of people as I rose in the ranks everywhere I go, you realize, we got us a girl. We got a girl in management. You're like, oh my god, like y'all didn't do that when I got fucking promoted. Holy shit! And I just, hi, nice to meet you. Holy fuck, I'm so sorry. These people are backwards as hell. And we got us a black manager. Oh my god, Asian manager. You're like, holy shit, what the fuck? And it's like they're checking off boxes in their eyes. They're tokenizing people. One of one. You're unique, right? That's tokenization. And they use them as weapons. They weaponize the people they tokenize. They weaponize the people that idolize them. They tokenize the people that idolize them. They weaponize the people they tokenize, and those are the people that are idolizing them. So you see how it's like a machine that eats itself? Is that you can't be critical of anyone of this administration. You can't be critical about anyone in this administration, and this administration see you as anything other than an enemy to them, right? You cannot critique a narcissist. You cannot hold a narcissist accountable. Yeah, Stephen Miller's a Nazi. We're not on TikTok. We don't have to hide how we say stuff anymore. Somebody tried to Paul Walker Rudy Giuliani. No, I thought I thought Paul Walker rear-ended someone at a high speed. Did was Paul did wasn't Paul Walker going really fast and he ran into a sitting car? Wasn't that how he wasn't that how he died? Yeah, somebody tried to Paul Walker Rudy Giuliani. He didn't die though. By the way, I got to show you guys this. So, I went to put on clothes today, and I found this T-shirt, and my wife is adamant that she did not buy this for me. Okay, I just want to point out. I'll show it to you too. It says "We'd be dope together," and it's very clearly like. My wife's like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't, I don't know. Why? And she's like, well, first of all, it doesn't have dog hair all over it. She's like, did one of the people in your chat send you that? And I'm like, no. What do you mean? And she's like, yeah, I didn't buy you that. Oh, well, maybe I bought it for you. Maybe this was for you. I know, it's just, yeah. And so my wife was like, you need to ask your audience if somebody sent that to you. I was like, they didn't. Um, it's just funny because I was like, it's totally us. That's what we do. Do you know what my wife? Paul Walker hit a tree. Okay, he hit a motionless object. But yeah, um, it's just funny. My wife was like, "Where did you get that? It doesn't have dog hair all over it." No, I didn't buy that for you. And she's like, "Did one of your fans send that to you?" And I'm like, "I don't have fans. I have friends that can make T-shirts." And by the way, if anybody needs money, is Dina in here? If you need money to produce, I will just give you money to continue to make T-shirts. I don't know if we talked about this, but reach out, get your COVID vaccines as restrictions. Yeah, yeah, he was going like 100 plus mile an hour. That's why I was saying Rudy Giuliani got hit from behind at a high rate of speed. I made a inappropriate joke. I mean, Paul Walker's dead. He probably doesn't get brought up a whole lot. You know what I mean? Saturday. Yeah, this is from yesterday. Andri Perubi. Um, she does. She did such a good fucking job. You know how I know Dina did real good is when you wash a t-shirt and it has a graphic on it. Typically, the graphic starts to fade after the first wash, and none of the three t-shirts she made me. Mm-mm. It is interesting to me. Epstein's estate is set to provide the birthday book to Congress with subpoenaed docs, House Democrat says. So again, the thing that Donald Trump wants to happen least in the world is about to happen. Not only is there a nationwide music festival protest today on Labor Day, the workers over billionaires. Hmm. Not only is there a massive fucking protest today, not only is the Rockland lawsuit moving forward, not only, not only, ooh, I bet you haven't heard of this on mainstream media. There is an uprising at Alligator Alcatraz. A lot of people have bled. Reports of the incident were denied by Florida and ICE officials as detainees say they were beaten and tear gas was fired. A mass beating of detainees to quell a mini uprising. Several migrants there began shouting for freedom after one received news a relative had died, according to the outlet. Team of guards rushed in, beat the individuals indiscriminately with batons, fired tear gas at them. Immigrants, not criminals, keep this in mind. And keep in mind that all of the violence, all it takes is multiple parties to survive and corroborate the story, and all those people that were using batons and tear gas on inmates will all be punished. That's not illegal. Hmm. Yeah, rage against the regime. I already shared that story, sorry. I want to point out, despite the president being who he is, no pardon for Diddy, no pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. I want to continue to say it every day that it doesn't happen. People were like, "Oh, it's a gross abuse of miscarriage of justice when the president of the United States can." Yeah, I want to point that out. It didn't happen. Hey, Crystal. Here's a New York City doctor who sexually abuses patients getting a 24-year prison sentence. World, I see what you do for others, and I want that for myself. Now, this will depend on whether or not they're actually guilty or not. Remember, the way we feel in the English speaking world is that you're innocent until proven guilty. So I want to continue to point that out. We'll try not to, um, or you want to delay your conviction that somebody did that shit. Okay, so whenever you see like the former prime minister of South Korea gets charged with bribery, I'm glad to see elected officials being held accountable, and I hope that she's being legitimately charged, and that if she did that shit, you know what I mean? Justice prevails one way or the other. Remember, this show is called Justice's Waiting Room. So, part of Al B said, I take the Wicked Witch is still alive. Again, Al, I have no reason to believe that Donald Trump is alive. I have said there are no, there's no video. He hasn't stood in front of a microphone. He's not typing his own fucking tweets out. He's dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. I'm telling you, he's he's been dead since a while. Mm-hmm. Yep. They're weekend and burning his ass, trying to figure out what to do because keep in mind he didn't pardon anyone. So he died and he didn't pardon anyone. That's why they're weekend and burning this shit. That's why they're like, oh shit, he's gonna write some executive orders because he didn't pardon any of them, and he's gone. Uh huh. They faked the pictures that they sent out over the weekend were from where they were dated. Uh huh. I took yesterday off or took Saturday off. I had the whole weekend off. I felt I went to Ace Hardware to look to start a garden. I'm telling you, we are living through a period where this is why the health and wellness of your candidate matters. And the Republicans are scrambling because the accountability is coming. And Donald did not pardon anybody. And they're like, hey, if he can't work, he's going to get the 25th Amendment. And he didn't pardon anyone, and J.D. Vance is holding all the cards. Now, my wife has been like, hey, if Donald Trump really is dead and J.D. Vance gets in power, isn't that like worse? Because he's the one that wrote Project 2025, and it's like, well, he has the charisma of a couch with the couch cover still on it. So he doesn't have MAGA. They don't fucking like him. He doesn't have a following. He doesn't have people cheering him on. He doesn't have an avid fan base. He's going to be woefully unpopular, and people are going to want to not fucking work for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, he's getting. Look, all of the levers of government have worked. As we said, the fucking remember anything that you can be charged with while you're alive, you can be charged with when you're dead. Just remember I said that. They can charge you posthumously. So if Donald Trump dies and everything happens, they all go down. You charge Donald Trump for treason, the whole thing goes down. Remember, I said that. And you just do it when he dies. News has given me nothing today. The former CDC director says you can no longer trust the CDC. Make sure that you get your vaccinations, that you wear a mask, that you wash your hands. Yes, Donald Trump is weaker than he looks. He always was. He always was this weak. I just want to point out that it was makeup and drugs, lots of cocaine and ketamine. And he's got all these other wealthy people on it. Ro Khanna saying on the 3rd, so in a couple days, Epstein's victims will speak. Well, remember, we were talking about this yesterday, okay? If Donald Trump's incapacitated and he doesn't pardon anyone, his cabinet is not immune. Hmm. Yep. Yep. Remember, Janine Pirro doing what these losers fucking do. Losing. Losing. Judge tosses DC case from Trump prosecutor, calls it total garbage. Judge Zia M. Faroukwi has handed yet another legal defeat to Trump, appointed DC attorney Janine Pirro, calling her attempt to jail a local attorney and West Point graduate one of the weakest requests for detention he'd ever seen. Anthony Bryant, who served a tour in Afghanistan but was arrested early Monday morning on charges of assaulting, resisting, or impeding police, threatening a federal official, and threatening to kidnap or injure a person. Hey, don't do those things. Remember, I told you this. If you're gonna do it, fucking do it. Stop yapping. When you fucking, first of all, you don't assault other people. You don't hit. We learned this in fucking kindergarten. Okay? Okay? What did you say? Okay? We don't hit. Okay? But you also don't make threats or threaten to kidnap or injure someone. So you don't say, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna beat your ass, I'm gonna fucking kidnap you. You don't say those things and you don't hit people. Good to go. And what I learned, yeah, happy Labor Day, everybody. Yeah, they all hated him. All of the people that are closest to Donald Trump hated him. Marco Rubio, JD Vance hated him. All remember, every elected Republican took money from Russia. All of those right-leaning content creators got paid by RT, Russia Today. Some is up to $200,000 a month for producing their content. This includes Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro. This includes Benny Johnson. All of your least favorite people. Um, they, yeah, yep, another holiday brought to you by unions. So if you're not working today, thank your local union. Thanks to Bob. Donald Trump says he's going to issue an unconstitutional order to ban mail-in ballots and require voter ID, and I just want to point out that that is unconstitutional. There are over 1,000 planned protests nationwide today. A fucking thousand. Yeah, by the way, to the surprise of no one, the Sydney Morning Herald. Vladimir Putin has called Donald Trump's bluff as it refers to Ukraine. Yep, great story. Yep. And I want to continue to point out that everybody that gets all up in arms about executive orders, you're the reason that he's making all these executive orders. He's fear mongering you, and you are biting. Hook, line, and sinker, it's having a negative impact on your whole day. I want to continue to remind you that executive orders are not laws. They're like a memo. It's like putting a fucking sticky note on someone's desk. Can't do that. Okay, is there a law against that? No. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't mean anything. It's a memo. Okay? So when you get all bent out of shape about some executive order, just know that I think you're an idiot. Now, when there's a bill that gets written, like remember Chip Roy from Texas, that's weaponizing some of Donald Trump's executive orders, that's scary. We could be scared about that because that's a bill. That could pass. That could become law. But an executive order can't be. And if it's acted upon, all you got to do is say, "Are you serious that you're taking into account what was submitted in an executive order, and that's why you did what you did?" That doesn't stand up in court. No, no, I'm not talking about you, Cease. I'm just as a general, universal you. If you get bent out of shape about an executive order, you got an issue. And that's mostly comprehension. It's mostly an understanding issue. You don't understand that executive orders are meaningless unless you give them meaning, right? It's like, again, it's like saying, oh, we don't prosecute presidents while they're in office because of a memo. We got to get past that shit. We got to get past this fucking memo shit. The president left a memo today that said trans people deserve to be eradicated. Okay, that's not a law. But now once they start writing laws that sound an awful lot like that fucking bill, now we got an issue. Now we got a problem. Until then, it's just fear mongering. And again, that's its whole purpose. So you're right. You'll probably never see Donald Trump stand behind a podium and speak again. You probably will never see him sit behind a desk and speak again. Because think about this. That man loves the camera. The only reason he's not in front of one is because he physically cannot do the job. So that 25th Amendment is coming. And for the record, they knew it was going to happen. I want to continue to point this out. Oh, yeah. The powers that be knew this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, when you see an executive order, that's what you should think about it. What a jerk off. I bet you he don't write as many executive orders from now on. I bet you I bet you won't see him sitting at a desk fucking sign. None of that shit's gonna happen anymore. Let's look. Did Chip Roy leave Congress? Chip Roy's decision to leave a safe congressional seat and join a crowded Republican primary to succeed Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's part of a trend. Attorney General positions, once sleepy and apolitical, are quickly becoming a pipeline to increase influence in higher office for aspiring members of Congress. Tea Party era Republicans figured this formula out more quickly, but Democrats have picked up on it too. I always love when they write it like Democrats are dumb and Republicans are smart. He's going to try to use his power and influence to secede Paxton in Texas. And then his job is to protect Paxton while he's in office. Yeah. It's a true tried and true joke that AG stands for aspiring governor. I love how people my whole life they've written this way. Like they write shit like the Democrats are stupid and the Republicans are just smart and just they just know. It's like, do they? What the fuck? Okay. 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 The most expensive gardening crew in history. So here's um, in Australia, the outright Nazis, yeah, are fucking with the Aboriginal people. The thing about it is, Cease. I want you to think real hard about what you just said. Are the Republicans smart? Do they really hide shit well? I think they're dumb as fuck, and everything they do is telegraphed as fuck. Look at Project 2025. That shit was a published. They told you what they was gonna do before they did it. I just think they don't play by rules, and Republicans are just now figuring that out. Like J.B. Pritzker telling Chicagoans to stand up. Hey, ICE is coming to Chicago. Remember, Donald Trump's not posting his own content on fucking social media. Donald Trump's using AI. There's the story. A bizarre AI posting spree. When you see the double dash, the M dash. Look, I'm gonna put it. When you see this, just so you see it. You see that triple dash? It's called an M dash. That M dash is indicative that AI wrote it. Human beings don't we don't use ellipses and we don't use the M dash. So just so everybody, we use dashes. Dashes between words to connect them. Yeah, we use dashes, but we don't use M dash. We don't use triple dash, and the AI does. hmm You learn something new every day. Actually, he has. He's been typing in all caps, and he regularly doesn't use punctuation correctly. Hmm. He just started using AI. He's still been writing them. Yep, but now he's using AI. Yeah, I know. A lot of people didn't know that. Most people don't. Most people don't use ellipses. We don't use the M dash. It's not really. Hey, and I'm telling you, Republicans are getting the fuck out of politics. Like people that you don't necessarily associate with MAGA. Like obviously Joni Ernst and Chip Roy deciding to get out, but it's like, what do you think happens when all these people get out of politics? Remember, these billionaires are anti-labor, anti-union. You know, Donald Trump's notorious for not paying his workers. And remember, oh, by the way, did we saw that over the weekend where Donald Trump was talking about building a resort in Gaza? Did you see they already had the permits in? The Trump's like the builder, the people that are actually going to build, they already got permits in on Gaza. I told you he's going to build a fucking resort on Gaza, and then I want to continue to say never go there. Never fucking go there. That place ought to be never finished. That's what ought to happen. Ought to happen. Hmm. Yeah, all you got to do. He doesn't need to type. By the way, you could just put it on all caps and yell into your phone. Yeah, we did see there were permits. Christy Gnome is known as Ice Barbie. That's funny. Voice command has more typos than my typing. Yeah. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Isn't Debbie Wasserman Schultz why Hillary Clinton, right? Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, a candidate for Wisconsin governor, calls on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to resign. Who? Ice Barbie? God, what a nickname, huh? I just want to continue to point out, I've never met a wealthy person because of crypto. I've never met a person who got wealthy off of cryptocurrency. I've never met a person that got wealthy off of AI. I'm going to continue to say it. I'll say this much. It's so nice to not hear his voice. Yeah, I haven't heard Donald Trump give a statement in almost a week. Well, I think the 3rd, so Wednesday of this week. I mean, yeah, I wonder if he's in hospice. Yeah, or he's dead. He's either in hospice or he's dead. Yeah. Yeah. Live your life so people are not sitting around pondering your mortality. Dead ass. If I've learned anything from Donald Trump, it's live your life in a way that people are not sitting around pondering your mortality. Is this motherfucker gone yet? Top FDA official demands removal of YouTube videos in which he criticized COVID vaccines. See what happens when you get powerful? They demanded the removal of YouTube videos that pictured them being critical of COVID vaccines. Uh huh. Remember those CDC grants that Donald Trump withheld? Well, the blue states sued and they got to keep most of their funding. All those red states that didn't sue didn't get shit. Donald Trump celebrates Labor Day as the most anti union president ever. The FBI says actually, let's look at violent crime in the United States per the FBI. The rural South and West. Yep. So keep in mind Tennessee, Arkansas, California, New Mexico, Nevada. Sometimes I forget the states. New Mexico, Arizona, California. It is basically the Bible Belt. It's just the belt has to go all the way across. The highest rate of violent crime in the United States is in New Mexico. The highest rate of violent crime outside of New Mexico is neighboring states Arizona, California, Arkansas, Tennessee, and then New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan. That looks like South Dakota, Montana. Yeah, basically the Bible Belt. If you really want to be honest about this, you know what's crazy? Where they don't have unusually high violent crime. Um, Mississippi, which it looks like either didn't report violence in small communities, driven by violence in small communities. So remember, Remember I told you. Remember I told you. All them states that I listed. Obviously, your New York and your California, they have all the people. So you can kind of like push them out. They just have a fuckload of people. Anytime you have higher population density, you're going to have higher crime. There's more people per unit, right? People live on top of each other in cities. It's no wonder there's crime. Being unempathetic to that is part of the divide between people from the rural part of the country that can shout in any direction for years and no one hear them, and the person who lives in the big city that has people all over them and their thoughts are overheard, right? And again, that's not to excuse what people do. There's a difference between understanding and being like, but it's okay if they do. It's never okay to be racist, okay? Remember, we start this show every day with war. Okay? And we end with Eat the Rich. So as we part today, have a fantastic day. Okay? I hope
Booking.com has all kinds of stays because a city hotel is right for some, but not. Wake up, kid. It's half past. You think nothing really changing with the dates. You ran slammer, but you know, babe, Ruth, you gotta know.
knowing how to relate.
I've been swinging from the pearly gates. I got all the answers, and lo and behold, you got the right key, baby, but the wrong key. Oh, yo.
All right.